Hello, welcome to HTML Lesson 4. And if you were already exhausted of just putting text on your web page, well, here I am today to show you how to put an image on your web page. Today is that day, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that is even more true when you are the one coding those 1,000 words. So let's figure out how we can actually get some images going. Now, there are three different types of images or file types on the internet that are widely used, and that is a JPEG, a PNG, and a GIF file. Now, I'm going to talk about each individually, but all file types that you're going to be using on your website will be one of these three, most likely. So, with a JPEG, it actually uses a lossy compression algorithm. Now, what I mean by a lossy compression algorithm is it actually loses or discards some of that image data to make the image smaller. What that causes is it means that you cannot actually reverse the compression of your data. So when you go from a raw image to a JPEG, you are losing that data and it cannot be reversed. However, it is really useful for digital photography because it is a very high quality compression, even though it loses some of that data. The next image I want to talk about is PNG. Now, this is actually lossless data compression, which means it doesn't lose any data and you can reverse it. And as you can see with this image here, it's really useful for text. This is actually a JPEG over here, and this is a PNG over here. And this PNG was actually designed specifically for the internet. And in mind, it was thinking about text and logos and line-based images. Like if you're doing stick figures, if you've ever been on XKCD, you definitely would want to, he definitely wants to use a PNG file. Otherwise, it's going to cause some issues. So then the third one, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is just a GIF. And it's actually quite different than JPEG and PNG in the way that it's actually formatted. It's called a bitmap. And what that means is it has 8 bits per pixel. So, you know, your actual computer screen is made out of thousands of pixels. Each of those pixels can be a certain number of colors. Now, with a GIF file, it actually has 8 bits per pixel, which means it can only have 256 colors, which is kind of limiting. So, simple images, you need to have simple images that have a large areas of a single color. Otherwise, you're going to get kind of a weird formatting issue going on there. It'll kind of look a little funny. But it is very useful with animations, as I'm sure you have found out in the past. So those are the 3 different file types that you will want to use on your website for an image. So what's the basic image tag syntax? So here's a big diagram that I made that so the first thing you have is the IMG. It's the image tag. Pretty straightforward. It just looks like an abbreviation for image. The next thing is the source attribute of our image. Now, this is somewhat very similar to our link hyperreference. So we have our source equals, in quotes, we have an image hyperlink. So this image hyperlink, it could be a link to your computer if you have it in the same file as your web page, or it could be a link to an outside website. It just has to have either .jpeg, .png, or .gif in that hyperlink. Otherwise, it is not going to take you to the right place. That is very important. And actually, these three, this is all you need. These other things for the width, height, and alt are not 100% necessary. They're very, very useful, as we'll see in a second, but they are not they're not necessary. So width just sets the width of the image in number of pixels, and you can kind of experiment to see how many number of pixels is what, and then height does the same, and then alt is actually interesting in the way that it is the text for screen readers. If somebody is using a screen reader, this will be read by the screen reader instead of trying to show the image to somebody who can't see it. So this is actually just the opening tag. There's no closing tag with our image tag. It is just an opening tag. You can do a closing tag, and we'll talk about that later, but in a future video. But for now, this is all you really need. So let's go ahead and look at an example. So if we look at this, I went and found a picture of elephant. I just Googled elephant and clicked on the first link, and it was to Wikipedia, and I grabbed the JPEG. Notice it has .jpeg at the end. I said image source equals this hyperlink, and I closed it out. I didn't even say anything about the width or the height, and I was like, well, let's see what it looks like. And then I go ahead and I did that, and I load it up, and oh my god, that is a giant image. Not great. You can see part of the trunk here, which kind of looks a little crazy. Alright, so we should probably do something about this. Let's go ahead and change our syntax here. Let's go ahead and define the width and the height. So I'm going to say my width is 800 pixels, my height is 500, and I might as well give it an alternative text for that screen reader. Now let's see what happens. Oh my gosh, that's way better. I can actually see the elephant now. It's not just the trunk, which was kind of awesome that close, but not really useful. And now we can see the whole image. So it's really important that you actually use those attributes. There's another way that you can define those attributes, and that is called style. And we will talk about style in a future video. So this should get you started with your images. Just to start off with simple images, make sure though that you are using the proper file type. So in summary, JPEG, PNG, and GIF are the image formats used on the internet, and each have their own specialities, as we talked about. We talked about the basic image syntax, and then how to resize our images. As we found out, it is important to resize your images. You cannot just put an image on there and it might work. You might get lucky, but also you might not get lucky. So be sure to resize your images when necessary. In a future video, we'll talk more about images. This is just the basic image video. There will be an advanced image video in the future. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to another video.